Alrighty, so here we are back again, finishing up our next transaction here. So what has happened next? Here we hired Kim Robinson to do our interior designing for our store. So here we hired her for a consultation. So do we need to record this transaction? Correct. There's no determined amount. All we did was hire her for a consultation. So right now, she hasn't done anything yet. All we did was just hire her to evaluate the store. And when she's done evaluating our store, she will send us a bill. And that's when we can go ahead and record it. So on that very same day, we decided to go to Computers R Us store to make purchases of office equipment. So what do we have here? Yes, we bought a computer and a printer. Okay, so here is our receipt, right? Has the store location, gives us the date, gives us the amount of the computer, as well as the amount for the printer. We have a subtotal, and we got taxed 8.25%. And because we paid it in the store, we also wrote a nice fancy check number 1502. So, how are we going to journalize this? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write the date. Now, do we have an account in our chart of accounts for a computer or a printer? Perfect. So we do have an account for that. All right. And because we paid with a check, what is our assumption? How did we pay it? Yes, we paid, and it's going to come out of our checking account. So here I already laid it out for you. However, what are you going to do with the tax? Yes, we have to pay it because what are we purchasing? Office equipment. What kind of what category does it belong to under assets? It's not furniture. It is definitely office equipment, but where would you categorize that as? What would you categorize that as? Okay, that's going to be at the end. We're going to take care of depreciation at the end of the. So what kind of asset is this? More specifically, what kind of asset is it? What are the account types? Or wait, what are the account categories? Categories, not what they are. Categories. Those are categories. I mean categories, not what they are. Okay, the question. Okay, so if we bought office equipment, how do we categorize that under our assets? What do they fall under? Is it a current, fixed, or other asset? Why would it be current? Can you touch it? Yes, it is definitely a PPE, right? Property, plant, or equipment. So therefore, it's a fixed asset, right? You will. So what is the notion that needs to be included in the total cost of an asset? What expenses need to be included in the cost of a fixed asset? Perfect. Now, of course, a printer and a computer, does it need anything extra besides it's pretty much ready for service, right? All you have to do is just plug into a wall. So, what else is included? Okay, since you have to, yes, you have to include the tax. So how are you going to distribute this tax? So how we're going to do this is like, so each asset that we have, right? We need to distribute the tax because it's included in as the cost of the asset. So correct. Correct. Okay, so how do we do that? Because right now it's considered a lump sum. Right now you don't know how much is going to go into what. How do you determine how sales tax is divided? Okay. Correct. It's prorated, meaning it's based on the total amount of the actual asset cost or the purchase price, I'm sorry, and you're going to calculate it prorate using it by multiplying it by the rate of the sales tax. So, if that's the case, so let's go ahead and place our journal entry in here already. So we know that we bought a computer. All right, we have an account for a computer, and we know that we bought a printer. All right, and each, I believe the computer was 14,010, and the printer was 14,020, right? So how are you going to distribute? So since you just said you're going to take the 1695 and you're going to multiply it by the 8.25%. And how much tax is going to be towards the computer and how much tax is going to be towards the printer? Good. So you're going to combine it together. All right. So in this case, what I'm going to do is, because the great thing about Excel is you don't have to calculate it separately and then add it together. You can just smash it all into one formula. So I'm going to go ahead and use a formula here for equal round. I know it's 1695 times 1.0825, comma 2, all right? And I get a grand total of 1834.84. And then with simple, simple math, you can just subtract whatever amount from the total amount and you'll get your remaining amount for the printer. You don't have to take the printer of 350 and multiply it again by 825. Right? There's only 2 items, but if you had multiple items, that's where you do need to do each one prorate. 20. $378.87. Yes. No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So with that being said, if you'd like, don't bother logging back in because this is the last transaction I want you to record anyways. We're done after today. After this. Okay? So what I do want you to do to make sure is record your check and record this to the ledger and the subsidiary ledger. Actually, you know what? We'll just pause here and yes, just make sure that you do those things afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the recording and I'm going to properly put them in the places that I need to place it to and then call it a day. So if you need to go, you can go ahead and go. Got you. Okay. No worries. Okay. Okay. All right, so here we are here. I have a grand total of the 2213.71. We know that by, that's what the receipt says it's totaled out to. Here we divided our sales tax evenly. We prorated and calculated how much sales tax is for each item that we purchased for. So now, because I wrote a check to the store, I'm going to go to my check register. Okay, so on June 5th, okay, I wrote a check out for 2213.71. And who did I write this check out to? Computers Are Us. Okay. Now that I actually wrote my check out, obviously you would write this the minute you walk out the store, of course. So now this is just me re-recording it. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back to my journal. And I'm going to place this piece of information in my description, right, in parentheses, that I wrote this check out to Computers Are Us, okay? And this was check number 1502. All right. Number 1502. And what you can do too is because my sales receipt had a number, you can also include that into your description as well. So you have a point of reference here. But I will include it in my journal. In fact, I'll just include that when I put in my for my subsidiary ledger where I need to place my invoice number. My invoice number will be my sales receipt. So I don't need to put too much information in because it's going to be in a bunch of other places. So with that being said, now I completed my journal. So now I have to go ahead and transfer all of this information into my general ledger first. So the first thing I purchased was a computer, which is considered an office equipment. Okay, so I could do this, but again, I want you to practice it because oftentimes as some students, what happens is they record the checking and they completely forget about the rest of the accounts. Especially when we move on to having sales in the store, you're going to be dealing with about maybe 5 to 7 different accounts. And you want to do it in the order so when you skip around, you don't accidentally forget. So I think this is general rule of thumb, especially for those who are starting out or beginners for recording this. So that's my highly recommendation is for you to just do it in the order that you place it into your journal so you can keep track of all of your debits and credits. So here I'm at furniture And now I finally reached my office equipment. So here I'm in my computers, okay? We haven't done accumulated depreciation yet, but here it is, okay? So just know that there is an account for that, and we will be looking at depreciation. You don't need to write that you purchased a computer because it's straightforward. You could put whoever you bought it from, but I'm also going to put my post reference of General Journal 1. That's going to also be my point of reference of who I bought it from, right? And this one, I'm going to go ahead and indicate that I bought the computer, and it was for 1834.84. All right, and with that being said, therefore, my total debits is going to be 1834.84. Okay. And then if I scroll down real quick, you'll see that the next account, next two counts afterwards is going to be my printer. And I can go ahead and place that information in there. All right, my post reference is going to be General Journal number 1. And how much I bought it for was $378.87. Good, thank you. I was gonna mix up those numbers. All right. Yes, I was gonna do 387.78, but thank you for letting me know, because here you're gonna look. So that's how you need to do when you're doing an accounting, is make sure that you do have the open pages that you need, just so then you can triple check to make sure that you are typing in everything correctly. So this is where most human errors come into play. They try to memorize the number, and they type it in the wrong way. So there you go. I have my printer. It is in there with the correct account balance. Then lastly, we got to go all the way up to our checking account, because we actually wrote a check for this. We purchased it using our check. So here, again, you don't need too much details. The check number is already enough. All right, I accidentally typed something in there. Oh, please. Oh, that's 01. This is check number 1502. Okay, same thing. We're still on the same page, General Journal number 1, but this time we are clearing out. We wrote a check for 2213.71. So therefore, it's going to decrease my bank account by 13,911.21. So that's my total current balance as of now. Let me just double check. 13,213.71. 2213.71. All right. So that concludes my ledger. So I have one more thing to update, and that is going to be my subsidiary ledger. All right, so here's my subsidiary ledger. And because it was dealing with a vendor, okay, so this is why we need to make sure that this happens, because what if when we plug in our computer, all of a sudden the modem doesn't work, or the screen doesn't turn on, the printer doesn't print well, right? You probably bought a defective product. So the great thing about having this piece of information in here is so then in case we do need to make a return, we have the proper receipt and we'll know exactly how much we're going to get back. All right. And we have a return policy on it as well. So that's something that you can place on here. Okay. But in this case, I'm just going to make sure that I write in my item that I bought a computer and printer. All right, and I wrote a check number 1502. I paid it with check number 1502. Invoice number. So remember, I was talking about this. When you usually go into the store, you get a receipt, you're going to actually get a sales receipt number. And usually that's the same thing as indicating as an invoice number, right? It's your transaction slip. So in this case, it is sales receipt number 84143. 84143. And that's what I'm going to place in my invoice number is 84143. Okay. Post reference, again, we're still on our first page of our journal. Do we have terms, discount periods, and a due date? No, because this is an in-store purchase. We instantly bought it, so we didn't make any, payment plans or anything like that. We instantly bought it, so we can ignore those 3 columns. Okay? Did we prepaid an amount? No, we went to an in-store. We didn't purchase it in advance. This is an in-store purchase, so it happened that same exact day. So the invoice amount was for $2213.71. All right? We didn't make any returns yet, and of course, we don't get any discounts. And then, of course, did we make a payment? Yes, we did. We paid them completely with a check for $2213.71. So again, accounts payable column, it's going to be a formula. It's going to consist of equal. We're going to start off with our invoice amount. Okay? Then we're going to subtract or deduct any prepaid amounts. We're going to subtract any returns, subtract any discounts, and lastly, subtract our payments. And of course, it brings my balance back down to 0, meaning I don't owe a penny to Computers R Us. All right, but we still hold in case we do return the items, we could potentially be given back money, right? So that is it for today, okay? We finished our transaction and we journalized it, we put it in our ledger, and lastly, we placed it in our subsidiary ledger. So when we continue back on a Monday, we will be looking at our next transaction here, which, let me see, where am I? We're going to look back and we're going to start off on, we're still going to continue the 5th of June, and we're going to start off with our insurance. So, cool beans. So now that this day is almost over, we're going to go ahead and call it a rest of the day. So, any questions to where we are at now? Again, this is just our beginning of our business or class project. So now we're only in the very beginning. So by making purchases of assets and stuff, we're going to be looking into more complex things such as inventory. Then we're going to be dealing with sales and what happens when we occur those things, okay? So with that being said, that is it for today.